Buddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ Dhammaṃ Saṅghaṃ Namāsāmi. So we are practicing together today on a retreat. And the title of this retreat is Peace Through Understanding. That comes from the Buddha's own description of the Noble Eightfold Path. He began saying the first factor of the path, the first part of the practice, is the cultivation of right view, or we could say right understanding. So even if we are not yet fully peaceful, some of you may be more peaceful than others, but still we're not fully peaceful, at least we can have a right understanding. And when we have the right understanding, that can help us to view or look at our experience in a way that we won't create more suffering, more stress out of the experience we're having. So the Buddha talked about right view on two levels. There's what we call the mundane level, ordinary level, and then the super mundane or transcendental level, lokuttara. And that's the level where you're really seeing the Four Noble Truths in your experience. So understanding, knowing suffering, its cause, experiencing the cessation of suffering, and you're cultivating at that time, you're cultivating the whole of the path, not just right view, but the other 7 factors of the path. So right thought, right livelihood, right action, right speech, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Those are the 8 factors of the path. But in the beginning, we have to rely on teachers. So that's teachers, external teachers, and then books and talks that we listen to, and also meeting with teachers. Because we are new to the practice. When I say new, I just mean we're unenlightened, we haven't reached Nirvana yet. So we're new students of the Buddha. So we need our teachers and our sources of knowledge and insight, and we need people who are examples. So what we call Kalyano are our initial source of right view. On this mundane level, the ordinary level, we need to listen to the Dhamma, see people practicing Dhamma. That gives us a good input, gives us some understanding what we have to do. But of course, you have to take from what you see, what you hear, bring it into your heart, so you understand it better with your own thinking and your own way of looking at the experience, your own, your own right view. So our first teachers are our parents, aren't they? They give us all kinds of useful teachings and give us good example, give us love, kindness, support, and then they give us all kinds of words of wisdom. When we're little kids and we don't understand many things, they remind us what we have to do, what our duty is, what our job is. They remind us what is right and wrong. They encourage us when we need encouragement. They restrain us when we need to be restrained. Our first teachers giving us some right view are our parents. But then as we come to practice Buddhism, we may have external teachers, so like monks or nuns, or could be lay teachers as well. And they give us more explanation, reminders, guidance. Sometimes people would ask Ajahn Chah, my teacher, how he managed to teach foreigners. He was Thai and he couldn't speak much English. And he had all these foreigners going to stay with him some of them couldn't speak Thai, certainly when they first went there. And one of the answers to that question was, he said, well, it's a bit like looking after buffaloes, water buffaloes. And if you ever go to places where, like Malaysia or Thailand, where they have rice farmers, and if they still use water buffaloes, they have a ring through the nose and a rod. And the farmer pulls the buffalo, sometimes pulls to the left, sometimes pulls to the right, to get the buffalo to do what it wants, or just shouts one word, oi, go there, when they're ploughing or doing something with their buffalo. Ajahn Chah said, it's like that with these foreigners. I just pull the rope a bit to the left and they go to the left, and pull the rope a bit to the right and they go to the right. So gaining right view sometimes is from very simple, direct experience. Just seeing what is leading to your suffering. Either the teacher reminds you or explains, and then you look out for yourself. We all know what fire feels like if we put our hand on something boiling hot, or literally into a fire, then it hurts and you get burned. You learn that lesson very quickly in life. Dhamma practice on many levels is the same, except we're now working with the mind. And the reason we come on a retreat and we're training in mindfulness is so we can see our mind better and look after it better. And right view may be just that voice in your head that says, stop thinking about those thoughts because they're causing you pain, suffering. Could be anger, could be lust, could be worry, fear. Other times our right view comes through thinking things through more. And we do have to train in what we call yoniso manasikara, reasoned reflection, wise reflection. So literally training our mind the way we think to help our Dhamma practice. And so that relies on hearing Dhamma and then bringing it up again, reminding ourselves of the Dhamma we've heard, thinking it through and being mindful so we can bring it up in a mindful way to understand something better. And then give ourselves some good instructions as well, and that's part of it. And that's what we call right thought. The right thought comes from right view. So right view is telling us, well, we have these qualities in our mind that come into our mind called mental defilements, kilesa. They're rooted in greed, anger, delusion, and they cause us suffering. So right thought is maybe just a simple thought to abandon, let those mental defilements go. When you've recognized them, you need to let them go, abandon them from your mind, give them up. So that's partly recognition, and that's where mindfulness, clear comprehension comes in. To recognize greed, as a cause of suffering. Recognize anger as suffering, cause of suffering. Recognize fear, anxiety as a cause of suffering. To recognize stubbornness, dullness, conceit, arrogance, and there's many different manifestations of these mental defilements. But to recognize them when they arise, and to recognize that these are a cause of suffering. So with right view, we get right thought, and the right thought says this should be abandoned. Let go of. And as you abandon them, you're cultivating the opposite. So as you abandon greed, you bring out the qualities in nekama, letting go of sensual desire, and endless greed and attachment to the objects of our senses, which spin the mind around and agitate our mind. We let go of anger and we bring up kindness, goodwill, metta in its place. We let go of hatred, we bring up compassion. It's the direct opposite. When you're hating someone, you're not thinking of their best interest or their happiness, you just want to hurt them, destroy them, get rid of them. When you bring up compassion, your mind is going in a different direction. Literally, it's moving in a different direction. It's the direction of the path, coming from right view and right thought. It's sending us towards liberation. If you keep working at letting go of hatred, letting go of anger, letting go of greed, attachment to sensuality, you're moving towards the liberated mind, the mind that is peaceful. But to have that liberation experience, or the letting go and the freedom from suffering, you have to recognize what is the cause of suffering in your heart and then act in the correct way. Letting go, abandon it. So we also need some tools and methods and ways to do that. This is why we're practicing mindfulness with our meditation. That's number one tool of the meditator. We need to be aware, we need to be mindful and clearly comprehending what's going on in our experience in order to recognize defilement and let it go. And there's no way around it. You can't really let go of your defilements in your sleep. It'd be nice if you could. You can't wave a magic wand and say, let go, let all my defilements be gone. It'd be nice, but we can't. We come to the monk, want the blessing, so all my troubles go far away. And the monk can give you a blessing, but it won't work properly yet. Because you also have to do your part of the job. You have to bring out the mindfulness and see where you're holding on is where suffering comes. So if it's greed, there's something that you feel you want, you need, that will bring you think will bring you ultimate happiness. And you're holding on too tightly to that, thinking about it too much, and get obsessed. And that very obsession makes us unhappy. As long as we haven't got it, we're not happy. Or if we've got it, we're worried we'll lose it. If you could relate to that particular object with mindfulness and wisdom, in a way where you're not obsessively grasping at it, your greed would start to fall away. So the Buddha didn't say you can't have anything in life, you can't have pleasures, you can't have any material wealth. But he pointed out the danger of getting involved with these things without wisdom, without mindfulness, without wisdom. And when I say without wisdom, particularly not realizing that these objects are always subject to the basic universal laws, so they're impermanent. And they're unsatisfactory, they can't bring us lasting, permanent happiness. So in that sense, they're imperfect. And they go according to causes and conditions, so they're not self. If they were a self, you could command them. Make me happy all day long, be with me, I just want this, I want that, and just bring me happiness all day long. We can't do that, they're not self. And ill will and hatred tend to come up linked to the first one, the greed, the attachment, because when you don't get what you want, you tend to go into ill will or aversion. Or if it's somebody you can blame for not getting what you want, you start to hate them. You want people to like you, but someone doesn't like you, so you don't like you, you're unhappy with that. There's something you want and you haven't got it, so you're frustrated, you're angry. We all want a body that feels good and is healthy, so we get upset when we're ill or we have some pain. Nobody wants old age, but it happens, because it's not self, is it? Body is not self. The world out there is not self. We want the world to be a certain way to bring us pleasure, happiness, make everything go smoothly, how we like, how we want. But it doesn't do it because it's not self. The world goes according to causes and conditions. Sometimes the causes and conditions are in alignment. We say, oh, today the stars are in alignment, everything's going the way I want. Good luck. But it's temporary, isn't it? And then suddenly things change. They're no longer in alignment, the stars have got out of alignment. And you're not getting what you want. That's the nature of life in the world. You get what you want, and you don't get what you want. And if we attach too much to these outcomes and to these things that we give so much importance to, we suffer. So, just because you have some pain in your leg, you don't have to suffer with it. If you have mindfulness and understand that pain arises through causes and conditions, it's impermanent, it's unsatisfactory, it's not self. If you understand that, then the pain may still be there, but you don't suffer with it. You just know it. No, it's a painful feeling. It's arisen, passed away. It's unpleasant, but you can just know it with mindfulness and wisdom, with the right view, with the right thought, with the right mindfulness, with all the rights of the Noble Eightfold Path. Something as simple as a painful knee or a painful back changes in your experience when you have right view, doesn't it? You go, oh, I have this pain. It's there, I feel it, I know it. But you just accept it for what it is. But if your mind goes into mental defilement, craving, defilement, attachment, then you say, I don't want this pain. And not only do you have the painful feeling, that you have your reaction to it, and your mind gets caught up into aversion. So as we practice right view, listen to the Dhamma, and then practice mindfulness, and then observe our experience, we're bringing this right view up into our thinking and the way we look at our experience. And so teachers like Ajahn Kalyano have some very simple instructions. They say, oh, just accept everything is not sure, not certain. Start looking and learning about that, seeing that experience, that everything is not certain. And then, once you see that, you realize that's just the way things are. So your mind falls in line with the right view, the correct way of viewing the experience. When we lose our right view, we lose our mindfulness, we don't have any wisdom, we forget the Dhamma, then we start saying, this experience we're having shouldn't happen, it shouldn't be like this. Why is it like this? Or, this is so bad, this is terrible, and on our mind goes, creating suffering out of the experience. Why is my life so bad? You notice when you're meditating, maybe you have a pain, or some discomfort, or unpleasant thought comes up, and if we're not mindful in that moment, we have no right view in that moment, we don't recognize this is a defilement arising, we fall into our angry mode, our aversion, and then off the mind goes in a train of negative thinking. It shouldn't be like this, why is it always like this, why is my life so bad? And one thing triggers another, doesn't it? So we tend to get a succession of moments where mental defilement comes up, craving, attachment comes up, and if we don't see it, then it takes over the mind. This is what we call mental proliferation. Right view is gone, mindfulness is gone, craving and attachment has arisen, and it takes over the mind. But as you meditate, especially if you keep putting effort into your sitting, your walking, bringing out this mindful awareness in the present moment, recollecting the Dhamma, then you may be able to let go of some of that mental proliferation, change it, and see it. Oh, it's just the defilements coming up, the greed or the anger or the worry. And one thing that mindfulness does is it gives you this sense of separation in your mind. So you're focusing on the breath, you're becoming more mindful of the breath. Other things still come up in your experience, but they're now objects of mind, rather than me, my thinking, my feeling, my aversion, my sadness, my this, my that. And when we're not mindful, the sense of self is very strong because we're not seeing the Dhamma. We don't have right view. So every thought, every feeling, every emotion is us, me, mine, myself. When mindfulness comes up, it gives you that sense of detached awareness, knowing something but without being too close to it, without grasping it too closely. Then you can reflect on it and see a defilement as a defilement. Greed as greed, anger as anger, worry as worry. Then you can let it go. Once you recognize it's something separate from the mind, it's the mind that knows, there's the defilement, then you have a mechanism where you can let go. It's just the same as saying this meditation hall, very beautiful hall. You came in this morning, it's nice and clean, the floor is clean. Once you have a clean room like this, and then later maybe some dirt will come in, footprints, a bit of dust. If you're really scattered, you're not mindful, you really don't even notice the dust or the dirt. And you certainly don't notice what you can do to remove it, or that it is removable. Maybe you have the wrong view and you think, oh, this hall is a dirty hall, it's always dirty. That's the way this hall is, it's just constantly dirty. Or there's dirt here and there's nothing I can do about it. I'll just have to live with this dirt and you'll feel depressed. But if you pause and establish mindfulness, you may observe more closely, examine closely. Oh, there's dirt here, it's just a footprint or a bit of dust or something. This can be removed. I could get back to that state where the nice clean floor is back. All I need to do is get a broom or a cloth, wipe it, and then I'll have cleanliness again. It can be removed because that's its nature. It's just an external bit of dirt coming. I know that. I can see what I need to do to remove it, so I remove it, it's gone. That's like Four Noble Truths in practice in this room. Your mind is exactly the same. When you establish mindfulness, then you can see a thought or an emotion arise, a feeling, a sensation arise, and you can assess it and you can examine it with this sense of detached awareness. You say, okay, anger has arisen, but this anger is not me, it's not a self, it's just one thought, one feeling. It's come up into the mind. Because you're mindful and your wisdom can function at that moment, because you're mindful, you can see it's not a self. We say it's a condition of mind or a mental state that can be abandoned. I just have to look at what I need to do to abandon it. It can be abandoned, and I can get back to that peaceful mind once I've abandoned it. Mindfulness gives you that doorway or way to recognize that defilement is not you. It's separation. So it could be food. After this we're going to have lunch. Lunch comes and you go, oh, see all the nice food. It almost certainly will stimulate some desire, a bit of this, bit of that. Sometimes we're such experts with food that we don't even see the desire. It's so fast, it's automatic. Oh, I just go on very fast. But if you're practicing mindfulness like this, maybe you're a bit sharper and clearer. You'll see certain thoughts come up. I like that. The smell, the colour, whatever it is that stimulates you. Or that, I don't like that. And you start to see some of your reactions, desire for or against. I like it, don't like it. Then you can see these desires are like visitors to your mind. You're sitting here now, maybe you have no desire for food yet, totally neutral. Then you go in front of the food, you smell it, see it, the desire comes up. So we say it's conditioned by the causes, the conditions of seeing, smelling, being close to it. If you're not mindful at that moment, your mind grasps at the food before it's even eaten it or touched it. It's already mentally eaten it. I like that, I want that. Or I don't like that, get me away. already the defilement takes over your mind. If you're not mindful, it just carries on doing its thing maybe for a while. You eat, not very mindful. You may enjoy it, you get some pleasure, but you didn't learn. You didn't establish right view, and you won't see the food, the tasting, the smells as impermanent, as not self. You just lost it. And of course that's setting you up to do exactly the same thing again next time you eat. You didn't learn anything. You could even say eating unmindfully makes you more foolish, because your defilements are being reinforced, and so next time they come up, and again, stronger each time, more automatic each time. So it just feels like a lost battle, a lost war. But with mindfulness, maybe you can establish mindfulness. You still have desire arising, so don't expect not to, but now you can see this desire has come up based on seeing, remembering, thinking about the food, a certain mood comes up. And whether you act on that desire or not, you still have a bit of choice there, don't you? There's still some mental awareness enough to say, yeah, maybe I won't eat that one, maybe I will, or how much you eat, whatever. There's a certain choice. That's your wisdom can function as long as you're mindful and aware. Your wisdom can make choices, make decisions, understand what's going on. And if you're really suffering, and some people do suffer over food, they're really wanting it, anticipating it, or already hating it if they find some food they don't like. Maybe you can save yourself some suffering by just being mindful and eating and maintaining your mindfulness through the food, through the meal. That might be an example of how to keep right view and mindfulness and wisdom as you eat a meal. That doesn't mean to say the food will be any less or more tasty, but we're knowing it and knowing what's going on in your mind as you eat. Mindfulness allows you to do that, and then you can see, well, with food that's one thing, and then all the other experiences of our day, talking to people, going here, going there, our memories, our thoughts coming up, even if you're totally alone or meditating on your own, the same processes are taking place. You have a good memory, a bad memory, a pleasant state of mind, an unpleasant state of mind. You're excited and stimulated, you're bored, you're restless. Anytime you can bring up mindfulness, you can start to see these as objects of mind rather than just getting lost into them. Once you're lost into them, your only choice is to re-establish mindfulness, isn't it? Then your right view, your wisdom, your intelligence will function again. You can understand better what you're involved with. But once you have lost your mindfulness, you're lost in your reaction, like you don't like it, our way the mind goes maybe for a long time. But once you brought it back to the present moment, maybe you take a few deep breaths, maybe you see the food, a few deep breaths before you choose your food for your plate. So you're doing it mindfully and you're reflecting on how much you need to eat, what the purpose of the food is. Basically, it's just medicine for the body. Once you have mindfulness, you can reflect wisely on it. Maybe you even teach yourself, if you see something you really like, and I'll leave that for somebody else. I'll do some extra dana today, they can have it. And I'll just take the more ordinary food over here. Maybe. Or maybe you can choose something you would normally not choose because it's something you don't particularly like. It's still perfectly good food, but you don't like the taste, but you choose it to teach yourself something. This is all up to you as an individual. We have choice here, but to do that kind of practice, you need mindfulness. If there's no mindfulness, you just follow the desire, the mental defilement, you just follow habit, and your mind goes to sleep, as it were. Even though you're enjoying things, your mind is asleep. This is why I said you can eat and end up more foolish than before, more attached. Normally, we don't see much suffering around food in life because we can buy food and get exactly what we want, when we want, as much as we want. But when you're on retreat, maybe it brings up a few more desires than normal because it's an unusual situation and you're not controlling the food. And I'm not sure what food people are getting. Lunchbox. So you open your lunchbox and you'll see some people go, "Ooh, I like that." And some people go, So you get your lunchbox. That's a part of your mindfulness practice, and what defilements does it bring up? And can you maintain your detached mindful awareness as you open your lunchbox, as you eat? And as Ajahn Chah said, it's not sure, it's like impermanent. Maybe you look at it and think, well, that's not good, and you taste it, oh, it's actually nicer than I thought. Or you see something you like, and you taste it thinking it's going to be good, and then, oh, that wasn't very good. It's not sure, is it? You don't know. You can't always believe your assumptions on things, because it's not sure. It's impermanent. But something as simple as eating food is a practice in itself. And you're bringing right view, mindfulness, investigation of the Dhamma, seeing impermanence, and so on, and letting go of defilement, all in the space of one meal. You can do that. So I think we've reached the end of the time for this session, but I've given you a few pointers about maintaining mindfulness, investigating the right view, bringing it up in very ordinary situations as well as during your meditation. So we'll end the session here now, and we'll come back together a bit later for some question and answer session.
Dhammaya o vadaka